This episode is sponsored by La Taverna, that restaurant in Abuja where you don't finish the food finishes you. I just realized as I hit record that I have no idea what the surname of my next guest is right now. How did I miss this? Her name is Renike, and I have no idea what her last name is. Rookie mistake, amateur. But anyway, since we're here, the show must go on. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Rodney Omokachi, and you're welcome to this very special episode of The Young God. And my guest today is Renike, a highly skilled visual artist, illustrator, designer, based out of Lagos, whose style caught my heart sometime last year, and I just had to have her on the podcast. Her wrist game is legit. Last year, she illustrated a book cover that was displayed on a billboard in New York City. It doesn't get bigger than that. And this episode comes in two sides. Side A starts off with Renike and I comparing notes about our artistic backgrounds. Turns out we had a few things in common. That was a pleasant surprise, actually. Then we talked about creativity and what that really means. We talked about mentorship. We talked about Donda versus CLB, because this episode was recorded the week both albums dropped last year. All in all, it was a proper creative conversation between two creative individuals. Do check out at I am Renike on Instagram and Twitter. She has a delightfully curated feed. Follow the podcast at I am the Young God on Twitter and at the Young God Pod on IG for exclusive content. My name is Rodney Omokachi, and you're welcome to The Young God, a podcast for gods. Ms. Renike, first of all, you are welcome to The Young God, a podcast for gods. And what's the backstory here? I don't know. How did it even start? I saw your art. I've been seeing your art for the longest time on Twitter, and then I checked it out, and I saw that you do have a very, very good command of your wrist. Your wrist game is legit. You know what I mean?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, and I'm just a guy who has a very, very immense appreciation for anyone who is good at their craft and committed to getting better. Whether it's it could be a skill, or it could just be like their personal life. Even though I feel like the thing you do ends up, like, the things you create end up creating you. You know what I mean?
Do you know what? I feel like I understand what you mean, but I'm not there yet. So I know what you mean, but I don't know what you mean. I'm guessing I'm just on my way to understanding what you mean by that.
Okay, so let me break it down a little bit more, just so we're on the same page. So it's like, you're putting in these hours, creating these things and fine-tuning your skills and practicing and producing, and you're just committed to the craft in that way. And by creating all those things you create and putting in those hours, you are also developing yourself on a personal level, not just on a skill level. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I understand now. When it comes to, like, in terms of discipline and consistency and all of that. So yeah, I get what you mean. And you're absolutely right.
Because growing up myself, I'm an autodidact, if you know what that means. That's someone who excels at teaching themselves. And
nice. I didn't know there was a word for that.
Is that you? Are you an autodidact? Autodidact.
I am, but I just did not know that there was a word for that.
Mad. You're gonna learn so much today. There's so much to. Yeah. So, I remember when I was younger, and by younger I mean like I'm 30 now. So by younger I mean like a decade ago, when I was still figuring out myself. I was heavy into like learning like photography and Photoshop and all the different software and the skills that come with them. So during that period, I learned what it takes to, or what it took to commit to a process, even when you suck at it, and letting time do its thing while I do my thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I totally
Yeah.
get you, and I agree with that.
So being able to do that all those many years ago, kind of like built like character, and now I know what it takes to commit to things. I'm disciplined in more ways than one. In fact, you don't get to 5 seasons of a podcast if you haven't like built some level of discipline in the past. You know what I mean? So it's like all those things that I did when I was younger that has allowed me to thrive right now. So
Yeah.
which is why I said to you on Twitter a couple of days ago that I'm very, very curious, and I can't wait to see what your like the levels that your skill ascends to as a result of all the things you're doing now. Because it's really high quality right now, but I can also tell that it's not even scratching what you can actually do. I can just tell.
Yeah, I feel so as well, because like I'm usually chasing progress and seeing what I can do better and seeing how I can improve my work. And I don't think I would ever reach the point where I feel like I'm there. Do you understand? I feel like the moment I start to feel like I'm there with my current career, then it's time to move on from the career. So like I want this to be like a continuous learning process for me, like forever. And I feel like it's going to happen, or I'm going to like it's art. There's like so much to learn when it comes to like my field. There's so many things that I can decide to branch into. Maybe I'm tired of portraiture. I can decide to do environment. I can decide to do concept art. I can decide to do animation. So there's like a long list of things that I have seen and might be interested in future. But like I'm not even there yet because I'm still trying to understand what I am doing with my current style and area of concentration. So it's such an exciting thing. And every day, like I follow a lot of artists on Twitter. So every day I see like a shit ton of work. Can I curse?
Of course.
Can I curse?
Yes, you can.
Okay. So most times on Twitter, I see like a shit ton of work from artists that I respect, and artists that are doing like way better than what I can do. And I'm like, one day I'm going to get there. So like, I know that I'm in this thing for, the long term. I'm so excited about it.
So how did you find the skill, and how did you find your style?
Okay, the skill. I think I always knew how to draw. I only started to take it seriously when I was in my 3rd year in uni. So when I was like little in primary and secondary school, I was one of those people that like will draw on like the questionnaire or question sheet after exams just at the back while I wait for time to finish and time to pass.
Yeah.
So I was one of those people that would do that. I also always picked art subjects over other subjects. Like there's a point at secondary school where they would offer you like maybe 3 subjects. I think fine arts, food and nutrition, sports, and all of that to pick one from. And I was always choosing fine arts. So I guess like it's just something I always saw myself doing and enjoying, but I did not really know that it was a skill that not everybody had, right? So I thought everybody could draw because I just did not care about if everybody could draw. It was like a special skill until I think when I was in SS3, I was writing my YX, and there were only 4 of us offering fine arts or that took fine arts. So we had to write the exam. And a lot of people were struggling, like the remaining 3 or 2, they were struggling while I was just doing my thing. And that was when it hit me that these people probably picked finance because they just didn't want to do any other thing, right? While me, I picked it because I really liked it. So that was how I knew that, okay, maybe this might be a special skill. And even in uni, people always assume it's something that they can use to escape if they don't want to do something. So in uni, like I studied creative arts and majored in visual arts and then majored in graphic design.
Okay.
So a lot of people that entered, that got admitted or applied to creative arts did it because they didn't know what they wanted to do. So they assumed it would be like an easy escape. So that maybe their parents stopped breathing down their necks. And then they entered and they suffered. But it's when they realized that it takes it takes a level of dedication and skill and talent to progress in that field. I mean, more than 100 people got in for creative arts. About 80 people went for theater arts, and I think about 40 people went for visual arts. 13 people specialized in graphic design. Right. And that was how like the entire thing happened. And when I was in uni and someone offered to pay for my skills. So I met this guy on Instagram. His name is Jimmy Terry. I don't know if you know him.
Yes.
So I met this man on Instagram. You know Jimmy Terry, okay? Yes. So I met him on Instagram. He reached out to me. What a very, very funny story. I was just doing my little sketches on my art page on Instagram. Then it was also a personal page. So I was just doing my little sketches and just posting, and people would say, wow. I'd be like, yeah, thanks. And then one day he reached out to me because he wanted me to talk to another young babe my age that he was trying to mentor or, communicate with because she was going through like some things. And he felt like I had my life together. And then that was when I had to tell him that, sir, I don't have my life together. I'm struggling. I'm struggling. And then he was like, no, how can you be struggling? You have this talent. So what are you doing with this? So that was when he kind of like took me under his umbrella. And then I was like, so this is what you have to do. This is what you have to do. He commissioned like my first drawing. It was a charcoal drawing of his wife.
Wow.
And it was her birthday in church, and then he called me out to present it. I was terrified. And
wow.
I was because I thought it was just going to like gift it to her, like, yeah, take. And then it was like, no, this lady, this girl, they said this drew this, she has to come out. I was like, no. So I came out, I was so shy, I was red. So anyway, that was when I realized that, so people want this thing. People would pay money to get this thing. And that was it. That was how I knew that it was some sort of a special talent. And that was when I decided that I was going to, use it to make money and improve on it as well. What's the second question? I forgot.
The second question is how you found your style.
I feel like, I didn't know I had a style till people started to point out that I had a style. So I was just doing my thing. And then I would receive comments like, I knew it was your work before I saw the handle. Or I knew it has your, and then I was like, I kept asking them, like, are you serious? And then they were like, hey, it's your style. And that was when I realized I had a style. I don't think styles are something, I don't think, it's something that you consciously do. I feel like it's like from trial and error. So you're doing so many things and trying so many styles, and then maybe you like one thing and then you consistently do it.
Right.
And that's how you get your style. So I think that was how I got my style, because it was definitely not conscious.
So two things I picked from your story. The first thing is that I was also in fine art class in SS1 to SS3. Yeah, we have a bit in common in that, and I was one of two guys. So you guys had four,
just two.
And we're just two. Yes, and yeah. So I can definitely relate to that. We're kindred spirits in that way. Just yeah, and just like you, I was one of the only ones. I was the only one, rather, between two of us who enjoyed and had the skill or flair for it. The other guy was just, doing it to get by. But the thing was, I didn't have a lot of favor with my teachers and peers, so he was always doing better than me. In fact, he got the award for fine arts students, and I didn't, even though I was better than him at it, which was crazy. But that's a story for another
That's
day.
unfair.
Yeah, let me not unpack my
That's
trauma
unfair.
for you today.
Sorry.
Yeah, but that was a thing that definitely informed my journey. That experience actually. And then the second thing is that you finding out that not everyone can draw. That it's a special skill. I think something else that people misunderstand or a misconception that's popular is that creativity or being creative is something that everyone has. And I'm here on the podcast today to tell the world that not everyone is creative.
Do you know what? I agree and I disagree, but I'm going to tell you why I disagree now.
Okay.
I disagree because I feel I may be wrong, but I feel like everybody is born with that skill, like creativity. Okay, so how do I say this without sounding religious? I believe in God there. And I also believe that God has passed down that skill to create to everybody. So I feel like as people grow and as we develop, we decide where to focus the creativity on. So the fact that I'm drawing and maybe someone else is into tech coding doesn't make the person less creative. It just means that is the direction of their creativity. Because growing up, I feel like, everybody did drawing and everybody did scribbles, as kids and all of that. And we did it well. But I think with time, based on like influence, maybe people around you, what your parents are saying about art, them either encouraging you or discouraging you, you just subconsciously branch out of that phase.
Yeah.
That's why you hear so many people saying, I could draw when I was younger, or I cannot draw anymore, but I could draw. It's because, they did not sit in that talent or that skill and develop it. So anytime people come to me and they're like, they have no experience and blah, 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 they can't draw. I'm like, you can draw if you want to. The fact that I'm drawing human beings and they look like real human beings, and if you try to draw human beings, they look like maybe a potato, does not mean you can't draw. You can draw, you just need more practice. And, some people pick up stuff, quicker than others. So I think it's sort of like a universal talent. I think everybody can draw, but special people are the ones that are able to be like consistent and persistent with the skill to the extent where they groom it to become like a thing and, to get recognized for it. That's my theory.
You are... So just like you, I agree and disagree. And I'll tell you why. Right? But we're in the spirit. First of all, and I have to say this because people do this all the time, they preface their statements by saying, not to sound religious, right? But I feel like believing in God is very healthy, especially if you have the right idea of God. In fact, one of the things I'm talking about in the new season is, how we might redefine our idea of God, but that's a story for a different day. But
nice.
Oh yeah, it gets deep. But yeah, so God gave us, that creative abilities. I feel like that's what it means to be made in the image of God, to have that creative essence. Just as God creates, we all have the ability to create out of nothing, whether it's with our voice, our speech, or with our hands. It's just, our minds are literally the most creative weapons in the universe. But my thing is that there's a difference between being a creative and being a creative individual, right? So what that means is that there are people who have mastered the skill, but they're not creative with it. They say the tool is only as good as the wielder, right? So you get people who, they can draw, they can sing, they can, they can recreate a creative skill, but as individuals, they're not very creative in that outside of that creative expression, they're pretty, the way they think, the way they see the world is very, very limited or very
I see what you mean.
the same. And I think, you cannot be truly creative. Like, true creativity is rare. You cannot be truly creative if you think and see the world the same way as most people do.
Yeah,
And I'll give you a further example. You know those guys who draw those super realistic pencil drawings?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that they're not creative. They're just really good at replicating an image.
But it takes like a level of creativity for them to do what they do.
It takes a level of it, which is a level that is okay, think of it like this, right? There are carpenters who can create a desk, a table, a chair. Yeah, there's a level of creativity that goes to that. But then you go somewhere else and you see like a piece of furniture that actually took like craftsmanship on a different level, where they don't just like take wood or metal and make it into furniture, but there is an otherness to it, a real personal touch to it. So with those artists who draw super realistic stuff, they just know how to use their hands to recreate and their eyes to recreate a picture, but to really make a creative interpretation of a subject or an idea might be lost to them.
I see what you mean. I totally see what you mean.
Which is why you're right about a doctor or a lawyer or even a coder being creative. Like, you can be creative even in the most seemingly uncreative crafts. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can take creativity and bring it there. But there are people who are only creative within their craft. Outside of their craft, they're just, they don't apply any creative thought or thinking to, anything else. And I think that distinction is really key when you start to like grow in the world and see things. We interrupt this podcast with a message from our sponsor. La Taverna, one of my favorite places to wine and dine. The space is fine and their chefs are top of the line. During the daytime, the natural light is just right. But wait until you see La Taverna at night. Intimate, passionate, elaborate. It sits atop the roof of Statement Hotel in Wuse 2. I promise you, it's one hell of a view. They serve tacos, pasta, seafood too. And that's just me naming a few. A warning though, you don't finish their food. The food finishes you. Mentors. So Jimmy Tewe as a mentor, that was really cool and I envy you in that regard. Yeah. I never got a mentor. I never had a mentor in that way. I always felt like, I needed, how do I put this? And I'm pausing because this is not something I've said out loud before or really thought about in depth. But when you talked about how Jimmy Tewe took you under his wing in that way, I think it's something that I'd have liked when I was younger. I just never had the opportunity for that. I had to make my own way. And I think in that way, it creates a different path. But I'll never know what it would be like for me if I had someone who saw my value in that way and sought to help me reach it. That's very good for you, actually.
I think everybody should experience someone like that in their lifetime. Like, it does, when it happened, it did so much for me because I was so, insecure in my craft or in my art. I knew I was good at it, but I didn't think I was good at it to the extent where people would want it, right? Mm-hmm. And I was still in uni, I was a broke student and all of that. And then he was like, oh, you can do this. I think it's so important that people have that person, even if the person is not going to be, there for a long time, right? That sees you and says, look, you can do it, I believe in you. I think it's a very vital start to a career, especially if you are not mentally strong.
Yeah.
Or you're like one person or wants to talk down on your skills or yourself a lot. So yes, I'm really grateful for him.
Oh man, that's a perfect person to just pick you up like that. I think that also explains. I think now I get it even more. Now I get how you've been able to get to this point in such a short time. Like it's incredible, and I mean, obviously, this taking nothing away from you, because even if you have a mentor, you still have to be able to listen and pay attention and apply
Exactly.
yourself as needed. So yeah, you did most of the work, but it's always good to have a mentor in that way.
Yeah. Thank you.
So now, very soon, you're going to be a mentor to someone else. What do you think that would be like for you?
Yeah.
What kind of mentor will
I've
you
already
be?
mentored a couple of people, about
Okay.
I think 4
All
or
right.
5 people, but it's usually just for a short period of time. So I did this last year or 2 years ago. So I've been doing this thing with 4 creative girls, where like it's a mentorship program. They pick like a mentor, and then they send you applications of people that want to be mentees. And I've mentored I think 3 people under that brand and 1 person under their designer, which is another brand focused on growing young designers in whatever field that they want to be in. But it's usually for like 2 months or 3 months.
Okay.
So I've never like been a mentor to one person for a very long period of time, even though I always tell them that the fact that the mentorship program is officially over does not mean that they can't reach out to me to ask me questions or if they need guidance or help. But most of them, they won't, because they always feel like I'm stressing. I don't want to feel like I'm stressing her. I get that a lot. Yeah, so I have done a bit of mentorship, and I like it. I think it's something that I'm going to take more seriously, in future. Because I don't know if it's because, someone did same to me, or if it's because I'm just passionate about giving people like information or knowledge that I have gained over, the past few years in my career. So, yes, I'm a mentor, or I have been a mentor before.
I was thinking of this mentorship idea that I would like to execute at some point in my career later on, and let me see what you think about it. I'm going to tell you about it, right? Okay, so
Okay.
imagine, how we talk about men having little to no knowledge about how to deal with women, and young girls having little to no knowledge of how to thrive in a man's world or in a male-dominated environment. So my idea for mentorship would be pairing young girls with elder men and young boys with, elder women, who would help balance out those aspects, not just in terms of gender, but just having, a mentor of the opposite sex, a healthy relationship in that way, where they, for example, I can imagine how having an elder woman as a mentor would, help smooth the edges of a young man who is still like having some kinds of like weird mentalities or behaviors when it comes to gender and just how to approach certain things with sensitivity. And for a young woman,
So is no, please go on. Sorry.
and for a young woman to be an elder man who is showing her, how to be more confident, how to, stake her claim on her work and contribute without being afraid of being looked down on, or just those things that both sexes struggle with early on. Having mentors of the opposite sex, I think that would be interesting. What do you think?
Well, I think it's so. I have questions. So the mentorship is going to be it's more character building than any other thing.
It's everything. It's everything a young person needs to be able to thrive, whether it's character and also professionally. I think most of the
Mm-hmm.
times we focus a lot on the professional side and leave the character side to their own devices. Like let them figure that out, you know. But if
Mm-hmm.
something that is very very holistic in that way, where not only am I assisting you professionally, but I'm also like giving you those insights and wisdoms and showing you the right attitude to have in certain environments that may not be natural to you, especially if you're yeah when it comes to gender, because you find that a lot of young people these days, they struggle when they get into professional environments or corporate environments that have all these like unspoken gender relations, and they get blindsided, like they don't know how to navigate or how to express themselves or how to make an impact because they're intimidated by the way things are, or maybe like for a young man who doesn't even know how to deal with female employees who are either his subordinates or even his superiors, like not
Mm-hmm.
knowing those things tend to like cause problems later on when they get to positions where
Yeah.
now it's like, oh my god, this guy is now being accused of sexual harassment, or he's accused of being sexist and talking to women a certain way, or not like seeing their value. So having a mentor who's a woman early on can help like scrape off, because if you're able to respect a woman early like that and learn to see her as someone who can also input things into your life, then as you grow older you begin to appreciate all kinds of women just because
Yeah.
you know that woman came from there. She was like them at some point, and now she's here and was able to like be a force for good in your life. I think that would be dope if it's done well.
Yeah, if it's done well, because I think it can also be tricky, right? But yes, if it's done well, I think that would be, it's different, right? And I think
Mm.
it will be something that both parties involved, that the mentees would cherish. Normally, when it comes to like things like this, my mind is, I've never really thought about what can I use? Appointing, because when I take on mentees, I usually take on female mentees just because of this reason as well. Because
Mm.
I don't know how, if men or if the guys would listen to me or if they'll take my advice seriously, because
Mm.
I'm a woman, because trust that happens like in reality.
Yeah.
So I never want to like go through that stress of trying to maybe be louder than I would normally be when it comes to communicating, not verbally, but like, um, or not violently, but putting more energy into communicating to
More
them just
authority.
because it's exactly more authority. Because I like to talk casually and be friends with whoever is
Mm.
learning from me. Because for me, mentorship is also a two-way thing.
Of
Because
course.
I've realized some things that I wouldn't like. It makes me aware of the things that I know and things that you know I might have been doing subconsciously that works for me. And so I'm also learning, right, about
Yeah.
things that maybe they do, that
Mm-hmm.
maybe they're not doing well, that I'm going to try and tell them to continue to do it because it works, but maybe they're not just doing it the right way. So I believe mentorship is a two-way thing, but it's just the mentor pouring more knowledge to the mentee than the other way around. So I think it's a good idea. I think because normally when it comes to things like this, I would probably say, um, why not maybe put a woman who has, gone through all those hurdles and appoint her as a mentor to this young girl because she already knows the ropes.
Mm.
And same for men. But I think mixing both sexes would be like a very nice twist if done well. Yeah, I totally get the intention behind it, and I think it's good.
I think if I was a mentor in that way, and I'm talking to, and I'm teaching or being a mentor to a young woman, one of the things I'm telling her is, exactly how men's minds work. What makes a system, so that she enters
Mhm.
into all these spaces with a bit more confidence and knowledge of things, as opposed to just being green behind the ears and, you know, being taken for idiot a couple of years before she gets her feet on the ground, you know.
Mhm.
And then
But I can't help but think about complications, right? What if
okay,
one party starts to like the other party or
yeah.
develop?
So
Because these things are possible, right? So
no,
I
if
can't help but think about, okay, what if this happens? Then what happens?
yeah, naturally that's something to think about, and I think it's a risk worth taking because I think in the first place you'd have done your due diligence in terms of pairing how to pick the mentors first of all, and they have a track record of being, upstanding, and they have
Okay.
decorum, and they're able to they have no track record in terms of all these like complications that happen. They know they're about their business and about imparting to a younger generation, whether it's a boy or a girl, right?
Mhm.
Then you get that. Then you now get a mentee who is also, I mean, I don't know how much background check you can do on a young person who's just coming up, but you get a sense of those who also do not feel the need to make those kinds of relationships with an older person. They
Mhm.
understand the assignment and they're going to stick to it. So you can get a sense
Mhm.
of,
But
yeah?
no, go on. No, go on.
No, I want to hear what you say.
Okay, but I was going to say, but those things are sometimes they're beyond our control. Because if the most, principled person and all of that might just like someone just because of, who they are. I think it's safe. I'm just going to suggest, maybe it's a good suggestion or a bad suggestion, but I think a safe way to do this would be to, if because I know you'd have some sort of control over the ages of the mentees, so that in case something wild, like catching feelings, maybe the older mentee is not married. Let me just imagine the safest scenario.
Mm,
Maybe he or she is single, and then there's something like that happens between the both of them. Nobody calls it predatory, right? So
mm.
if like you're picking mentees within a certain age range, and maybe after the mentorship program, they decide that, they like each other and they want to spend more time together, it's not a problem. It's not a problem. But you get what I mean.
That's funny because it
Because
sounds
this
like
thing really.
yeah, it happens. It happens. No, no, like it does happen. It does happen. But the way you just described it sounded like something that is so familiar somewhere. I don't know, like you've seen it happen somewhere or on a movie or some
Actually,
book.
I haven't, but you know how Twitter exposes you to a shit ton of wild things happening in the world.
Right.
You wouldn't want that kind of controversy to be attached to your brand. So I don't know. Twitter is such a great platform, right? I know it
Mm-hmm.
can be mentally exhausting and scary sometimes with all the
Mm-hmm.
wild stories you see. But I think it teaches you to think, um, like when you're planning something, it opens up your mind so you think of different possibilities.
Of
And I think
course.
it's better to think of those possibilities and just find solutions right now as opposed to, it happening along the way or problems happening along the way and then you don't know what to do. So because I've seen like stuff about an 18-year-old and like maybe a 50-year-old, and where did they start mentorship? What kind of mentorship are you doing? Now he's 50 or she's 50 and you're 18 and you're in love. What kind of love is that? So
You know
just
what
in
would help?
case.
You know what would help? If we're doing a background check of these things, right? I guess parental background would be so key because I'm checking what is this girl's relationship with her father. If the relationship is strong, then the risks of such a thing happening become less. But if it's tricky, if there's no father or if the relationship is not so ideal, then the possibilities of a young lady imprinting on an older guy like that who is showing her such care and attention becomes higher. So before we even talk about what will make an older mentor, fall for a younger girl. So I think if we have a girl who can already resist those advances in that way, and like there'll be guidelines. If you feel uncomfortable, please let us know. Please report this. There'll always be those channels to nip these things in the bud and let everyone know that we expect a certain level of professionalism. But I guess just doing our due diligence at the beginning, like picking the mentors, making sure that they have no track record of some weird ass thing. It would be more ideal if they are married or at least in a relationship. And obviously with the mentor or with the mentee, you don't want to make such a strict rule that they have to be in a relationship, but at the very least they should have that would be weird. Like if you're single, you can't have a mentor. That's just not nice. But yeah, you're actually absolutely right.
But I think the more responsibility should be on the older person, which is because sometimes young people, they don't have sense. So it's the older person that should, be able to, snap them out of it. So yes, but it's a good idea, and it's nice.
Yeah, if it works, it will work very, very well. That's really the thing. Yeah. Let's take a moment to pause and breathe. Relieve the tension. Whatever you're doing, close your eyes, take a deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. One more time. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Let's resume. Okay, so let's get off this high, heavy thing for a second and talk about what TL has been talking about for the past couple of days. Donda or CLB?
Oh, well, I haven't listened to any, so I wouldn't know. But a lot of people are talking about Donda. And okay, I've heard like 3 tracks from Donda, and I like them. Okay. I think I've heard, is my favorite Jill or something? I don't know. But I have like the first, I've heard the first 3 tracks and I liked them. So I liked not the first was Donda. So I think the second, third, and fifth. I liked the second, third, and fifth. I'm not really good with like names and all of that, but I liked how they sounded. But I've not even listened to CLB at all. Oh, I've heard the one with Tim.
Of course you have.
Fountain. Is it Fountain? So I've heard on, and I like it. I like the vibe. I like everything about it. So
of course you like it.
I don't think I'm in the right place to pick between both of them because I've not heard like the full body of work.
I've listened to them both, and I'll tell you. Can you guess which I prefer?
Donda.
Why? Why do you think I prefer Donda?
Because more guys like Donda.
Wow. Wow, really?
No, wait. It's been wait. Because that's what I've been seeing on it all. So I've noticed that, the soft guys, the lover boys are tilting towards CLB, but like the, in quotes, hard guys, which is like the majority most times, they're tilting towards Donda. So that's why I said, essentially a soft guy. But
Woo! Wow. Okay. So you're right that it's Donda that I'm leading towards, but not for the reasons that you think. First of all, I'm a soft guy, and I'm also a hard guy.
Okay.
Like I'm that guy that has the blue pill and the red pill in equal measure. Like balance is key for me, and but. My unbiased opinion is that Donda is a stronger body of work. Like, first of all, when it comes to Kanye, you're not a true creative if you do not appreciate Kanye's genius. First of all, like, if that's my opinion, like that guy takes it there. Every project,
yes, I agree.
Every song, every lyric, he brings himself in a way that is just unprecedented. And Drake is also right up there when it comes to creativity, and how he applies himself in his music. But Kanye, for me, just like if you don't like Kanye and you call yourself a creative, then you're probably just a creative, not a creative individual. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think just the fact that Donda, first of all, it's an album with risks, a very risky album, and CLB is Drake's predictable best. You know what I mean? Like if you listen to CLB,
Really?
it's Drake as you've always known Drake.
Okay, yes.
He didn't.
I've not listened to it, but I would assume you do that because Drake does like Drake. I know Drake. Okay, so I know the difference. I don't really listen to a lot of the both of them, but I know that Drake is more for the masses, right? Mm-hmm. He creates like stuff that maybe the masses will enjoy. Now, Kanye, on the other hand, does not care about if you enjoy it or not. He's going to express his creativity and do what he wants.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing I know about the both of them.
And that's a true creative right there. The one that creates for himself first and for the masses second.
Mm-hmm.
But Drake creates for us first, and then us second, and us third, then himself. And he does it really well. That's the thing. He has mastered it so well that it's like that in itself is an art for sure. I will never knock that on Drake. I love Drake.
Yeah.
You understand? Like Drake he's a genius in his own right. But I think Kanye is if you consider what Kanye has been through in his life, everything from being in debt to being a billionaire, being happily married to being divorced, having the highest self-esteem ever to like having a mental breakdown. Like Kanye has been on both sides of the aisle, and then losing his mother is like the cherry on the cake.
Yeah.
And so here's a guy who's creating from that kind of depth. Drake cannot near that. Drake's life is, not to say that his life is easy, but I think what Drake has done is that he's been more fortunate in that his life has pretty much been vibes and inshallah, you get like he's just been that guy that's just been, fortunate to like have things work out. Like he's the kind of guy that, like Lil Wayne, his mentor, was more than happy to give him the keys to the city, you know what I mean? Because it's just his vibe is just pure like that. So
I mean that's what he shows us. So,
and what we lack right now in society these days is true appreciators of art and creativity. It's like, how do I put this? Imagine yourself as an artist, right? Your job is to grow, is to evolve, to find new ways to express yourself. But then you have an audience that maybe they liked your earlier work and they want your work to stay the same to please them. So once you start to evolve and to change and to try new things, they're like, this album didn't bang, or this Renike's work doesn't hit as it used to hit, as opposed to appreciating the artist's willingness to take a risk and to express something that has not been expressed. I think that for me is purest form of creativity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, so again, so it's done that for me. Yeah. And when you get to listen, you feel the just the difference in, like, Donda is fucking inspirational, man. Like this is a body of work that was made in the honor of a human being that he loved. It doesn't get even just that story already. Elevates Donda beyond a lot of things that came out this year, So Drake was always going to get the numbers, but when you talk about like long-term classic, sorry?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, Drake was always going to get the numbers. I mean, first of all, if you put Thames on your project, you're going to get the numbers because everyone is like on Thames's dick right now. Like Thames is like the darling of the industry. If you put in fact, if Thames just says hello on your track, you're getting those numbers. You know what I'm saying? So for me, that is so numbers don't really like tell the full story for me. So as it turns out, Renike eventually listened to both, and she picked Donda. To Jesus be her glory. I also did an in-depth review of both albums on an episode titled Donda versus CLB. You should check that out if you're curious about such things. There's a link in the description of this episode. To hear how this conversation ends, though, tune into side B. It gets deep. And there you have it. This is the Young God.